Now, if you're going to go overseas to do some watch tourism, and I'm not even sure if, to be honest, that is actually a name of something, but or something that I've just made up, but there is one place that is worthwhile considering, and that is Singapore. And if you're going to come to Singapore to look at some watches, well, there's one place that you just have to go. Hello, you're watching James. My name is James, you're watching me, and I am talking about watches. And if you come to Singapore, there's likely to be 3 reasons why you're going to do it in relation to watches, or at least there was 3 reasons for me. Firstly is for the micro brand scene here. There is an explosion of micro brands based here, available here for you to see, but also get hands-on with them, plus maybe even meet the brand owners themselves. Secondly, there's a lot of used second-hand watches here in Singapore too. At least compared to Australia, there is a lot more available. But number 3, and what we're going to be doing today, is going to where the sort of mecca of the luxury watch brands are, and that is Orchard Road. And Orchard Road in Singapore is a famous nearly 2.5 kilometre long retail street known as the retail heart of the city. It is a major tourist destination lined with high-end department stores, luxury malls, luxury hotels and a wide variety of restaurants and cafes. And most importantly, there are at least 11 watch stores that does not include all the stores that are in the Far East Plaza either. I'm going to be featuring those in another video. Today I just want to take you with me on this sort of journey to these stores, and as it turned out, it was probably a little bit of a difficult video to make because I wasn't going into the stores to make the videos. I didn't have permission for any of the store visits for all these, but I just thought it might be quite interesting just to take you along with me, just to give you a bit of an idea of what I could see, what was there. And for me personally, so I'm not personally focused too much on all the watches from these big brands, or at least the big brands that are easily found elsewhere, primarily because I've already seen them, I've already handled them, and I sort of know what they are like, and I also know which of those that I dislike. Australia, however, is not that great from a watch enthusiast point of view to see a huge range of brands, but we do sort of tend to have access to those sort of big brand boutiques. Not as many of the micro brands, unfortunately, so that's why I've mostly come to Singapore to see more of those, but those will be featured in another couple of videos. And as I was preparing for this video, I sort of found about 10 or 11 stores that I was specifically going to try and target. However, that ended up being a little bit more difficult because they sort of tend to be all within the big shopping malls. Some of them are boutiques on the main street, and if I be completely honest, about half of them were just Rolex. But the ones I was trying to get to was Emperor Watch and Jewellery. They're a little bit of a jewellery store, but also high-end luxury watches, and they've been around for about 80 years. I did want to see the Rolex boutique just from the outside, just to show you that there was a Rolex boutique, but there ended up being quite a few of them, as you can see now. But I did end up with some cool stores that I did see and saw some cool watches. There's another store called Luxury 95 that I was thinking was going to be great because it talked about having a whole heap of traded luxury watches, but well, that just turned out to be all Rolexes as well. And of course, there was going to be watches of Switzerland as well, which those stores tend to be all over the place, featuring things like Rolex and Tudor and IWC. And they're a good store. I quite like them, but I've been in them before. I did try to get to one called Bell Watch, but I couldn't find that one. And then I did find Sincere Fine Watches. They say they retail over 30 brands of watches and have been doing it for over 70 years. Oh, hello there. Sorry to interrupt. There's actually 2 things I just interrupted you for. Firstly, I was just hoping if you haven't already subscribed to the channel that you might just tap on that subscribe button. It really does help me in every way with this channel, and helps me sort of motivate me to come over here and do trips like this over to Singapore to make lots of videos about watches for me, but also for you guys. But there's also a second reason why I've interrupted the video. And that is just to quickly show you what Orchard Road looks like at night with all the lights shining and all the lights glowing and all the people that are around. But that's it at night. But let's get back to the daytime video. In particular, I was really quite keen because they said they had Creedor and Minays and Arm and Strom and Rosa and Kaduki and Unimatic.
But from what I saw when I was in there, they had Moser, so I got to see a couple of those sort of watches which were okay. And there was another brand that I hadn't seen before which wasn't too bad, but they didn't have any Creedor, which was a bit of a shame because I've never actually had any hands-on with those. Another one was called Lux House Singapore. I don't think I found that one. Then there's the Hourglass, which there's actually quite a few of those. That tends to be a little bit like Watches of Switzerland, or at least that's what I sort of found. There was some quite interesting brands in there, but nothing, again, that stood out to me too much. But the biggest disappointment one was the Watch Capital 111, which said they sold a whole range of sort of watches, but that just tended in to be all Rolex as well. So I ended up just sort of wandering around, finding all these little watch stalls and just random sort of stalls, which I'd never heard of or never seen before. I was going up and down into these big sort of shopping malls. I was quite literally there maybe 4 or 5 hours. It took a few hours on one side of the street, then a couple of hours on the other side of the street, and just sort of trying to find everything that I could. I used my maps a little bit to try and guide me around a little bit, but I actually had better luck just basically wandering around, just sort of stumbling into watch brands. And the good thing about doing that and going in through all these shopping malls is that they're also air conditioned, which was definitely a positive because it's a little bit hot and sweaty here in Singapore at the moment, and I think it is quite often. And you'll see I'm sort of rushing past some of these stores a little bit, or just getting a little bit of footage, because realistically I'm in the middle of busy shopping centres and there's people working in there, and I don't want to disrupt people or film people or sort of put people out. You know, I'm not sort of a professional film person in this sort of thing. It's just me taking some footage so I can create a video for you guys and just show you some watches that were there. I know I'm not showing you too many of the actual individual watches, but this video was a little bit more about just the sheer range of watch brands as well as stores and the different locations. And it probably would have been really cool if I could have sort of specifically located where they were within Orchard Road, so it could have been a little bit more of a guide to Orchard Road to see watches, and that was sort of my idea at the beginning of the video, but it didn't really work out that way. I was sort of not lost along the way, but I was definitely not going to be able to guide anybody to where I happened to be, because I was sort of in and out of shopping malls, going up and down multiple levels. But what I can say is that the majority of the watch stores are on the ground floors. I did find a couple that were on the second or third floor. They tend to be the sort of the more sort of unique sort of stores, but still a lot of Rolex, just Rolex everywhere, which is nothing wrong with Rolex specifically. They just don't get me really excited. But you'll see that I've got some footage when I do show some more interesting watches, something that's a little bit different. I've stopped and then taken a little bit more footage because I found some more stuff. I even went to a sort of a second-hand shop or a pawn store, you know, those sort of where you can trade things in and get paid for stuff, to see some watches, and there was a cool IWC and a couple of things in that. And then I found one just at the last minute as well, which had actually some very cool watches. Tried on a brand new Vulcan Cricket, and that's about all for me today. Thanks for watching. Maybe you could check a couple of my other videos out next.